What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Purdue Boilermakers are up next, coming off a pretty rough year last year for Purdue. They were just 4-8 last season in 2023. So yeah, it was a big step back for them, basically where they were a couple years ago. Of course, it was a new head coach and everything, and also a completely new roster, and also the schedule was very tough for them last year as well. Looking at this team for 2024, my thoughts on Purdue. They do have a lot of young players that they played last year coming back and everything. It's not really just the roster I'm really concerned about. I think Purdue will be competitive in some games this year, but it is about the schedule. It's a very tough schedule this year for Purdue in 2024, so I don't expect this team to be terrible, but it's all about the schedule. So let's go ahead and get to that schedule now here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Purdue. Again, they were 4-8 last year in 2023, and they have another tough schedule this year as they head into 2024. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Boilermakers. I think they start off with a pretty easy win here against Indiana State here on August 31st. Probably going to be their biggest win here on this entire schedule either way. Again, the rest of the games on here are very tough, so I think they start off 1-0 here with a win over Indiana State on August 31st. So I got them starting off 1-0, and then after that, they get their first bye week here rather early here in week number 2 before playing a big non-conference game against Notre Dame at home here on September 14th. So I would say this is a pretty good spot for a bye week if you're a Purdue fan, but it's really early into the season. It's not really obviously really good to have a bye week, in the first, like in the first 2 weeks of the season and everything, but this is a Notre Dame team that's going to be really good this year, potentially a top 10 team and also definitely a top 15 team as well, and they also are going to be definitely like a playoff contender. I don't really see this game being all that close. I don't think Purdue is going to have any chance whatsoever in this game. Notre Dame with a lot of talent on their roster and also some transfers to help them out, and they also got Riley Leonard coming in, the transfer quarterback from Duke. We'll see how good he's going to be, but I think Notre Dame is going to be too much here. Even at home, I know Purdue gets a bye week before playing this game to study up and everything, but I think Notre Dame wins this one fairly easily. Maybe they give Notre Dame a slow start, but then Notre Dame comes out of nowhere and starts to really dominate this game. So I got Purdue losing their first game here of the season, so that drops them now here to 1-1 here on the season. Next, they'll play a road game against Oregon State here in the non-conference as well here on September 21st. An Oregon State team that we don't really study anymore. Of course, they're not a Power 4 team. They're still in the Pac-12. It used to be a Power 4 conference. Now that conference is now over. You look at this Oregon State team, new head coach this year. They lost a ton of players from the transfer portal and everything, so this will be a different Oregon State team, but it is on the road. It's a very tough place to play, so you never know, but I'm actually going to go with Purdue here just because they're the Power 4 team and everything, and I also think after the Notre Dame loss, they're going to definitely be ready for this game as well. I know it's on the road, it's out west and everything, but I'm going to go with Purdue here. I think they get their second win here of the season. And again, I don't really study Oregon State that much anymore, so I'm going to go with the Power 4 team here in Purdue. So I got the Boilermakers getting their second win here of the season. That puts their record now here at 2-1. Then they open up conference play here in Big Ten play against Nebraska here on September 28th. We got two second-year head coaches going at it here. I think it will be a competitive game here in this one. I think it will be a close game. I've already done my prediction for this game, though, and I did choose the Cornhuskers to win this one. I just think that Nebraska, with all the experience that they have coming back, I do trust Matt Rule a little bit more. I know Nebraska's lost a lot of close games over the course of the years, but I think this is finally their year that they get over those close losses, and I think they find a way to win those close games. I think it will be a competitive game, though. It could go into the fourth quarter, so you never know. A turnover can probably change the difference, but I'm going to go with Nebraska here to get the win. So I got Purdue losing their first Big Ten game here of the season at home against Nebraska here on September 28th. So that puts them now here at 2-2 on the season. Next, they'll play Wisconsin here on the road on October the 5th, a very tough place to play here. I think Wisconsin's going to be pretty good this year. I really don't see this game being all that close just because it's on the road and everything. If it was at home here for Purdue, I would definitely consider this one a close game and a very competitive game as well. You got two second-year head coaches going at it, but I think Luke Fickell is definitely the better coach, and I think Wisconsin definitely is the better team. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Badgers here to get the win. So I got Purdue dropping down to 2-3 here on the season in 2 straight losses in a row. And then after that, it's a road game against Illinois here on October 12th. So they got back-to-back road games here with Wisconsin and Illinois. 2 very tough road games, but I think it will be a very competitive game against Illinois here. Illinois is not going to be a really good team this year. I'm not really that high on this team either. This is kind of like a matchup here between the 2 bottom teams in the Big Ten. I think Purdue and Illinois are at that bottom tier in the Big Ten this season, and also at the, sitting at the bottom 2 here in the conference as well. So this matchup really could decide who will be the worst team in the Big Ten this year. But Illinois is playing at home in this one. That's the reason why I decided to go with the Fighting Illini. Again, it will be a competitive game. It will be a low-scoring defensive battle. Could really come down to a turnover. It really could change the difference in that fourth quarter. So with that being said, I think it's a 50-50 game, close game. It's a coin flip. And I'm going to go with Illinois here just because of the home field advantage. So I got Illinois getting the win there. So that's 3 losses in a row here for Purdue, heading into their toughest game here in the month of October against Oregon here on October 19th. So they're sitting there at 2-4. This is an Oregon team that's going to be a top 5 team and also a top 10 team, and it's also a newcomer coming up in the conference this year. I really don't see this game being all that close. I think it's kind of similar to the Notre Dame game, but it's not going to be even a close game at all. I think, like I said in that Notre Dame game, they give Notre Dame a slow start and everything, but this is not going to happen here in the Oregon game. I think Oregon blows out Purdue. Even though it's a home game here for the Boilermakers, I just don't see Purdue pulling off the upset there. I think Oregon wins big. So I got Purdue losing 4 games in a row. That drops them now to 2-5 here on the season going into the month of November. They get a bye week before playing Northwestern here at home on November 2nd. This is a very winnable game. You look at Northwestern, going to have a pretty good defense. The offense could be pretty solid as well. They're coming off a really good season last year. These are, 2 teams with second-year head coaches, kind of similar to the Wisconsin games, and kind of similar to the Wisconsin game. That it could really go either way here. It could be a competitive game as well, but I tell you what, Purdue, I think, is desperate for a win at this point. They get a bye week before playing this game after a beatdown from Oregon a couple weeks ago. I think that really does help them out here just a little bit. They get an extra time to prepare for this Northwestern team. And plus, it's in the month of November. We see, teams get better with their head coaches as they go into the later part of the season. And with Purdue with their second-year head coach, I think they get better by the time they get into the month of November. I know the month of November is a pretty tough stretch, but I think they get the win here against Northwestern, and I've already done my prediction for this game from last week, and I did choose, Purdue to win this game. So I got Purdue getting their first win here in the Big Ten, and that puts them now here at 3-5 on the season. Next, they play on the road here at Ohio State on November 9th. This is another game I don't really see being all that close. Very tough place to play. The Buckeyes going to be a top 5 team and one of the favorites to win the Big Ten this year, including Oregon. The top contender probably to win the national championship as well. I think Ohio State wins this one fairly easily. It's a blowout. Again, I don't really think Purdue is definitely on the level of the Buckeyes here. So I got Purdue losing their 6th game here of the season on the road here at Ohio State on November the 9th. Next, they play Penn State here at home on November 16th, and that is very tough. You got to play Ohio State and Penn State in back-to-back weeks, but they get a home game against Penn State here. However, I don't really expect this one to be all that close either. This game kind of similar to the Notre Dame game. It probably could be a game where Penn State really, starts off slow and everything, but at the end of the day, I don't really see it being all that close. I think Penn State gets the win here. Penn State just a way more talented team and also a way more dangerous team than Purdue is. So I got Penn State getting the win there. So that's really tough back-to-back, games there against top 10, maybe even top 15 opponents in Ohio State and Penn State there in the month of November. So that drops Purdue now to 3-7 going into the next game here against Michigan State on the road here on November 23rd. Michigan State going with the first-year head coach and everything. everything. We'll see how good this team is going to be. I think this is a Michigan State team that will be better by the time they get into the month of November and everything. This will be a very competitive game. It could go into the fourth quarter, but it is on the road here. It's a very tough place to play, and it's also a very tough game to call. It's a 50-50 game. I'm going to go with Michigan State here just because of the home field advantage. I think Purdue has a lot more experience than Michigan State does, but again, Michigan State playing at home, that does favor them just a little bit here in this one. So I think Purdue loses their 8th game here of the season on the road here at Michigan State, and that's 3 losses in a row going into the final game here of the season, and that's on the road here at Indiana on November 30th. Indiana also go with the first-year head coach, but they brought in some transfers to help them out. This is going to be a really good Indiana team, and like I've been saying with Indiana, I think they're an underrated team heading into 2024. They brought in a new head coach that has a ton of experience from James Madison. I think the future is definitely looking bright here for the Hoosiers, and I've already done my prediction for this game. I did choose Indiana to win this one just because of the home field advantage, and also it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. So with that being said, it will be a close game. It could be a low-scoring type game. I think both teams are going to run the football. I'm going to go with Indiana, though, just because of the home field advantage. So I got Purdue losing their final 4 games here of the regular season in the month of November. So I got them finishing with a record here of 3-9 here for 2024. It's not really just about the record here for the Boilermakers. It's more about the schedule and everything. And like I said, I don't really expect this team to be all that terrible. It's just more about the schedule and everything. I could definitely see them winning at least maybe like a couple games in the conference. You look at Michigan State and Indiana, those are very winnable games there on the road. And then same thing with Illinois. This team could probably go 6-6 if they were able to win 3 of those games, but maybe they can go 5-7 and come up just short, but that would definitely be an improvement. But 3-9 is not an improvement here for Purdue. Again, I'm not really that high on this team just because of the schedule and everything, but that is my prediction for the Boilermakers heading into 2024. Let me guys know what you think about this Purdue team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.